Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name's Naja Sasuke. Welcome back to the Warhammer Wiki. I wasn't sure if I should even bother continuing this series because, for one, it doesn't seem like anybody cares, and for two, there are people who are doing stuff like this much better than I am on YouTube. Like that one guy who's describing various bits of Warhammer to his girlfriend. But while talking to some people online about Warhammer and how we like it and how we came to know about it, I remembered that one of the things I was curious about from watching What If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device was I wanted to know what the deal was with the Tau and why they seem to be hated so much. So, after a couple of days of not really having time to do this, now I'm going to start reading about the Tau. I see from this thing that it's presumably a very long page, but some of it might also just be people at the bottom talking about it. So, the Tau Empire, pronounced Tau as in wow, also spelled Tau Empire in older imperial records, is a rapidly expanding multi-species xenostellar empire situated within the Imperium of Man's Ultima Segmentum near the eastern fringes of the Milky Way galaxy. It lies within the reach of the Astronomicon. The Tau Empire was founded by the Tau caste called the Ethereals, who lead the Tau Empire in the name of and in accordance with the utilitarian philosophy that they have named the Greater Good, Talva in the Tau lexicon. A large and growing number of other intelligent alien races have allied themselves with the Tau within the Empire. The Empire has suffered many raids from the Orcs, and also seems to lie in the path of several Tyranid splinter fleets of Hive Fleet Kraken. Whew. Here we go again with all these hyperlinks. The Tau, Imperial Binomial Classification Tau Tau, also spelled Tau in older Imperial records, are a young, humanoid, and technologically advanced intelligent species native to the eastern fringes of the Milky Way galaxy. They are fighting to expand their small but rapidly growing interstellar empire and extend a philosophical concept they call the greater good to all intelligent species of the galaxy. Why did you just write? Okay. The Tau claim to be a peaceful species when possible, asking if others will join their cause voluntarily instead of fighting against them. However, if their peaceful overtures are refused, the Tau may well decide to conquer a planet and add it to their growing stellar empire for the greater good, searing the flesh from the bones of anyone who stands against their benign intentions. Tau society is divided into a number of castes, each responsible for managing a specific aspect of their civilization. The Tau's central motivating ideal is that everyone in their empire, regardless of their species or culture of origin, will work for the collective betterment of everyone else, an almost mystical philosophy that is embodied in the greater good. Isn't this I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, never mind. The Tau are the dominant species of the Tau Empire, an interstellar polity, which is also composed of several other different intelligent species, including the Kroot of Peck, or Pesh, the insectoid Vespids of the world Vespid, the nomadic Psykers of the Nikasar, and many others. However, there are now several human sects in the Empire derived from conquered Imperial humans or humans who voluntarily joined the Tau Empire because they were impressed by the concept of the greater good. These people are known as Gevesa in the Tau lexicon, and they are considered amongst the most vile of traitors and heretics within the Imperium. The Tau are a relatively young species. It has only been 6,000 Terran years since Imperial Inquisitors first noted that the Tau had only just mastered fire and the wheel, and they have evolved rapidly over the past few standard millennia. Why do I keep yawning? I've been awake for like an hour and a half. Stop it. Unlike other intelligent starfaring species, the Tau have made remarkable leaps in technology and now represent a real threat to Imperial domination in their region of the galaxy. Okay, that's a whole lot of stuff. The Mon Tau and the coming of the Ethereals. The exact date of the founding of the Tau Empire in the Imperial calendar is unclear. However, the way in which the Tau were united as a species is a well-known tale. I need to do something about my throat drying out after every other sentence. Sorry. However, the way in which the Tau reunited as a species is a well-known tale. It is known that only 6,000 standard years ago in the 35th millennium, an Adeptus Mechanicus explorator fleet discovered the Tau homeworld of Tau and determined that its population of intelligent Xenos were a primitive people at the Stone Age level of development, having only just mastered fire, which you just said. Since then, the Tau have developed very rapidly into a spacefaring species, which you also just said. Earlier in their history, during a period of them known as the Montau, the Tau were a culture built upon warring tribes. During this time, the Tau legends tell of the first appearance of the Ethereals at the city of Phaeotown? I think that's an I, not an L. The fortress city of Phaeotown was under assault by the Tau warriors from the plains. Though negotiation had been attempted, the fierce plains warriors would settle for nothing less than the annihilation of the city of Phaeotown. For 5 long Tau years, the inhabitants held off the savage assaults with their thick walls and plentiful cannons. However, disease and starvation began to take their toll. As the tide of the siege turned, 2 mysterious Tau appeared. One made his way into the camps of the plains of Tau, exuding a quiet authority that no Tau was able to resist. Soon the leader of the Plains Warriors was persuaded to parley with the settled Tau of Phaeoton. Similarly, the other mysterious Tau made his way deep into the fortress. Within a few short hours, the gates stood wide open and Tau of both sides stood ready to talk. The Ethereals spoke of the importance of peace and understanding between all Tau. They described a greater good that each Tau must strive towards. The besiegers and the besieged quickly agreed with the Ethereals, and a truce was reached. Across the world of Tau, Ethereals merged, each with the same quiet authority and message of harmony and cooperation. With the Tau united, they were able to rapidly develop their civilization's technology, ultimately attaining spacefaring capabilities. The Tau Empire soon expanded its borders through a series of so-called sphere expansions. The Tau Empire has gone through 5 main phases of expansion as of the era Indomitus in the 41st millennium. These phases are marked by Tau military campaigns during which new worlds and star systems are colonized, conquered, or sometimes peacefully persuaded to accept the greater good through diplomacy and a manifest demonstration of the benefits provided by advanced Tau technology. Apart from the star systems directly colonized and exploited by the Tau, which are known as septs, the Tau Empire also includes the worlds and star systems belonging to the species of the Kroot, Vespid, and the Nikasar. It is currently unknown if the leagues of Votan prospect called the Demiurge by the Tau are full members of the Empire, allies, or mere trading partners. The Empire is composed of over 20 fully developed septs and around 100 settled worlds, but the exact number and most of their names are unknown to the Imperium. A known splinter faction amongst the Tau are the Farsight Enclaves, founded by the Damocles Gulf, beyond the Damocles Gulf by the Tau commander Farsight against the orders of the Ethereals. More recently, some worlds and star systems of the Imperium have been conquered by the forces of the Tau, while a handful have seceded from the Imperium outright and pledged their allegiance to the Tau Empire and the greater good. A Tau Fire Warrior. So, before I continue, what I'm noticing about the Tau so far is whoever wrote this article just keeps saying the word Tau over and over again in places that I don't even really feel like it needs to be repeated. And also just repeating whole swaths of information immediately after they've already been said. And it's also sounding to me that the reason there seems to be the issue with Tau is because of humans joining the Tau. And also the whole, oh, they're just barely, they went from the Stone Age to spacefaring and taking humans, blah, 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 that's bad. And, I don't know, it kind of feels like, it almost feels like the Tower what the Emperor was trying to get humanity to be, but humanity is not good at peace. It's just not. So, the Damocles Gulf Crusade, also called the Damocles Crusade, was the first military conflict fought between the Imperium of Men and the rapidly expanding Tau Empire in the Lythesh sector of the Ultima Segmentum, near the galaxy's eastern fringes during the 41st millennium. The conflict essentially ended in a stalemate, as the Imperium was forced to conclude its military offensive early to deal with the encroaching Tyranid threat, while the Tau sought to begin diplomatic negotiations with the Imperium to show humanity the benefits to be had by accepting the greater good. So, I'm going to have to assume that what that was the Imperium of Man attacked first, because that's what they do. While the Tau were like, we just want to tell you about the greater good. And humanity was like, we gotta deal with the crazy space reptiles right behind you. And they just kind of kept trying to preach, I guess. Before the Crusade, members of the Tau water caste had established trade agreements with imperial worlds on the frontier of the Tau Empire near the Damocles Gulf region of the Ultima Segmentum in the Galactic East, and exchanges of goods and technology were common. Alarmed by the threat of alien contamination, the Administratum readied a suitable response. Almost a Terran century later, the Damocles Crusade smashed into Tau space, destroying several outlying settlements and pushing deep into the Tau Empire. When the Imperial fleet reached the Tau Sept-world on Daleth Prime, however, the Crusade ground to a bloody stalemate as the formidable numbers and high technology of the Tau and their crude allies thwarted every attempt to capture the world or its star system. Many solar months of terrible fighting ensued with nothing gained on either side. By late 742 of the 41st millennium, the Crusade's commanders eventually agreed to a request from the Tau watercaste for peace talks. The negotiations were successful and the Imperial fleet withdrew from Tau space unmolested, their reason partly being due to the impending approach of the Tyranid Hive Fleet Behemoth. So yeah, that immediately confirmed my suspicions that the only reason a battle happened at all is because the Tau were like, trade, peacefulness, the greater good, and humanity went, nah, we can't be doing that. We gotta stay human, only human. We only gotta be as human as being robotic will let us be, and we don't need anything alien from you. And they spent a whole 100 years sending a ship out there to attack the Tau for trade. To which the Tau responded with, nah, screw you, and beating them back. And they didn't accomplish anything until eventually the Tau were like, can we not? This is stupid. And the humans are like, we don't want to agree with you because you're Xenos, but there's these other Xenos that are worse than y'all, so we'll just say yeah, so we can deal with this. And then the Tau just let them leave. Humanity, that like the Imperium of Man is stupid, is what I'm saying. It's almost hilarious. If it wasn't terrifying what their stupidity has done to the galaxy, it would be hilarious. Anyway, Hive Fleet Gorgon. The Tau Empire was invaded by the Tyranid Hive Fleet Gorgon, a splinter fleet of the much larger Hive Fleet Behemoth, and 899 of the 41st millennium. The Tyranids of Gorgon were exceptional in their ability to quickly adapt on a biological level to new circumstances of battle, such as evolving immunities to the Tau's energy-based weaponry. Isn't that what Tyranids do, though? Or is it just they're better at it than Tyranids usually are? This rapid pace of defensive adaptation may have been unique to the Tyranid breeds of Hive Fleet Gorgon, or it may have been a response to conflict with the Tau, who are also a highly adaptable species. Albeit on a technological rather than biological level. The combined forces of the Tau and the Imperium's Astra Militarum destroyed Hive Fleet Gorgon in 903 41st, though only after both humanity and the Tau lost several colony worlds to the rapacious Tyranids. Alliance on Melbede. Sounds like a cigarette brand. At some point, the Tau sent an expeditionary force to the Imperial planet Malbede, where they came into contact with the Ultramarine Space Marine chapter in 936. However, the planet proved to be a cursed tomb world when the fighting of the Tau and the Ultramarines awakened the sleeping Necrons from their tomb beneath the surface. In an effort to combat this terrible threat to both species, the Tau and the Ultramarines combined their forces to defeat the Necrons. Once the conflict was over, the Tau were allowed to evacuate their forces by the Ultramarines chapter Master Marnius Calgar, who proceeded to destroy Malbreed through the use of an exterminatus order. War for Cavarium Alpha. In 966 41st, the Tau fought against the Astartes of the Space Wolves chapter during the War of the Cavarium Alpha. For Cavarium Alpha. On that ocean world, the Space Wolves drop pods landed deep in the oceans where their occupants, their power armor altered by Space Wolf Techmarines to operate in undersea environments, made a move to engage their enemy. On the surface, the battle was fought between the two sides, with an equally deadly conflict erupting in the depths of the sea between the Space Wolves and Tau battlesuits. Thunderhawk gunships armed with torpedoes, prop bombs, and missiles were used to defeat to great effect against the Tau's Hammerhead tanks and Manta gunships. Ultimately, the Space Wolves proved to be the victor in the conflict, though hundreds of Tau and Space Wolf courses floated to the surface of Kavarib's Alpha World Sea. With their mission complete, the Space Wolves made the long trek back to land across the seabed. The Taros campaign was an Imperial military campaign fought by the 46th 21st Imperial Guard Army and elements of the Adeptus Astartes to reclaim the Imperial Desert mining world of Taros from the Tau Empire and its crude and human allies of the Taros Planetary Defense Force in 998. The campaign was ultimately unsuccessful for the Imperial forces, who took heavy casualties and losses while Taros remained in the possession of the Tau, who renamed it Tros. So it sounds like every conflict that it describes so far between humans and Tau were wholly unnecessary because the Tau weren't even doing anything bad. They were just going from planet to planet basically preaching communism, because that's what it sounds like the greater good is. Or at least what communism was supposed to be, not what it's being practiced as now. Tau anatomy and physiology. Alright, so just straight from humanity beating up the Tau for no reason to their anatomy. Okay. The Tau's physiology is closely tied to their society, with the Tau of each caste effectively being a subspecies of the larger Tau race. You see what I mean about the word Tau just coming up, like, way more times than I feel like it has to? Tau anatomy, Tau, 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 Tau. Anyway, this was initially a result of adaptation and evolution to suit the different environments of each group of the proto-Tau species found themselves in on their homeworld of Tau, although interbreeding between the castes was later forbidden by the Ethereals. So we got the Tau physiology, but it's different because they have Tau castes, which is part of the Tau race, on the planet Tau full of the proto-Taus, but the ethereal Tau said don't do that. The Tau are humanoid in shape, although they have hooved feet and 4-digit hands, 3 fingers and 1 thumb. Their skin is gray-blue, although this can vary in pigmentation between Tau seps and colony worlds, rough in texture, leathery, and exudes almost no moisture. Their faces are flat, wide around the eyes, with an eye-shaped slit running from the center of their forehead to where a human's nose would be. From this description, I want to say that, see here, you don't need 4 fingers and a thumb to wage war. It just matters if you've got the thumb. If more animals had thumbs, then they would have already taken the world back. Tau vision is considered slightly superior to that of humans. Their visual spectrum extends a little more into the ultraviolet and infrared wavelengths. However, their pupils do not dilate, giving poorer depth perception and providing slower vision focusing reflexes than humans, particularly in low light conditions. The olfactory organs of Tau are inside the mouth, so they breathe like cats smelling new things. Physical strength and size varies between the Tau castes, with the Fire caste being the strongest of their kind, roughly the size and slightly weaker than a baseline average human, because the Tau homeworld has gravity slightly weaker than that of Terra. You say that like any space traveling humans are even on Terra now. Only 2 female Tau have ever been illustrated. The first, Commander Shadow Sun, appeared to have a more human face than male Tau, being smoother and sleeker with larger eyes, a nose-like facial structure, and a Y-shaped facial slit. It is not known, however, whether Shadow Sun is representative of all female Tau. The second known Tau female, the subject of an imperial dissection by the Magi of the Adeptus Mechanicus, had the facial characteristics of a male Tau. The Tau do not possess psychers, and as a result have little knowledge of the Immaterium beyond its existence. This gives them some level of resistance to warp-based powers affecting the mind, but it offers little, if any, protection against physically manifested offensive psychic powers. This is because the Tau have virtually no psychic presence in the warp. To a daemon or any psychers possessed of the witch sight, they appear as shifting will-o'-the-wisp rather than the burning fire that represents a human soul. As such, Tau can never possess or develop psychic powers. They are largely unaware of the perils of the Immaterium, and for this reason have conducted research into the nature of the warp on Medusa 5. However, the conclusion was reached that further research was unfeasible, and that the warp is no place for the greater good and is best left to those foolhardy races who cannot pull back from that terrible realm. They right? Ethereal cast members also have a diamond-shaped bony ridge on their head. It is believed by Imperial scholars that through this organ, the ethereals exert a pheromone-based or latent psychic control over the other Tau castes that keep them focused on the greater good, but this is mere speculation, and no evidence of this has yet been found. Due to their notable absence of psychic ability, the Tau have no equivalent to the navigators of the Imperium, forcing them to travel at sublight relativistic speeds. Their interstellar vessels therefore take much longer than Imperial vessels to traverse the vast distances between the stars, which is one reason their empire has expanded relatively slowly over the centuries. Tau warriors receive only limited training in the arts of close combat, usually depending on recruit mercenaries to fight in the horrible melees so common in 41st millennium battles. However, due to their superior range of vision in the electromagnetic spectrum and a predilection for patience, they have proven themselves to be extremely efficient sharpshooters with the ranged plasma weapons and railguns they primarily rely on. The Tau tend to look upon other intelligent species as backwards or misguided. Before the commencement of hostilities, they almost always, try to reason with their opponents and establish some kind of agreement that will make the use of military force unnecessary. Noted exceptions to this policy are Tau battles with the Orcs, Tyranids, and the forces of Chaos, with whom the Tau have little to no diplomatic relations. This is due to the fact that the Tau see no way to reason with them and do not want them in their empire. The greater good, or Tauva, because of course it is the central philosophy that unites all Tau. It teaches that every self-aware being is equal and plays an important part in Tau society. It tells its adherents to put away petty squabbles and unnecessary things to unite for the greater good of the rest of their species and of all other intelligent species in the galaxy. They have no desire to destroy another intelligent species, religion, or culture, though it may not mean that the Tau respect their right to live as they please. However, while many embrace this ideology, and even some Imperial worlds have willingly joined the Tau Empire, other species fiercely resist adhering to the greater good to pursue their own freedoms, much to the dismay of the Tau, who see these desires as selfish and unenlightened. And now we come upon the caste system. There's a picture here of the Ethereal Supreme Aunva, the leader of the Ethereal caste, and the Ethereal High Council, and thus the Auno of the Tau Empire. The Tau employ a caste-based social system that places the good of the many over the good of the few or the individual. In their culture, every person is viewed as an essential part of the whole society, though no individual is ever considered more important than the needs of the rest of the society. Social standing is judged primarily by a being standing within a caste of the Tau, with the suffix La designating the lowest rank in the caste. Shasla, Fire Warrior, Fiola, Earthworker, Porla, Water Bureaucrat, and the suffix O designating the highest, Shas-O, Fire Commander, Fio-O, Earth Planner, Poro, Water Ambassador. The 5 castes of the Tau are as follows. Shas, which is fire, composes the bulk of the ground military of the Empire, and as such they are most often encountered by the Imperium. They average as tall as or slightly taller than the average human and are generally muscular. This comes from their origin on the plains of Tau, the home world, where they survived as hunters and warriors. Tau from the world of Viorla tend to have slightly greater muscle mass than is common among their species because of the increased gravity of that planet. Gravity? I said gravity. The Earth caste is Fio, and composed not only of the laborers and technicians, but also artisans, scientists, and engineers. They're usually credited with the significant leaps in technology that the Empire has enjoyed. The members of this caste form the foundations upon which the Empire is built. The inhabitants of the caste are generally short and stout of build. Dwarves. So, the water caste, Por, is primarily composed of merchants and diplomats. They are tasked with seeking and maintaining diplomatic relationships with the other species of the Empire, as well as maintaining the ease of communication and cooperation between the other castes. The water castes are generally taller and slimmer than the other Tau, and favor diplomatic training and social grace over confrontation or combat. They are more capable in communicating in the languages of other species than most other Tau. From the time when they discovered the existence of the Imperium, there are several accounts where water caste ambassadors were dispatched to Imperial worlds, and those worlds accepted the greater good without a fight to become new Tau septs. The air caste core. The air caste of the Tau function not only as messengers, but also as the bulk of the protection fleet and the merchant fleet. The Tau of the air caste are even taller and more slender than the water caste, with long, skinny appendages and hollow bones. These traits are attributed to their lives lived mostly in low to zero gravity void ships and void stations. This is exacerbated by air caste reluctance, if not outright refusal, to land on planets, as their skeletons have atrophied to the point where injury and broken bones are commonplace when they spend time at a gravity well. In the past, during the time of the Montau, before the unification of the tribes, the air caste had membranes stretching between their limbs, which allowed them to glide on air currents. Air caste pilots are recognized as generally superior to human pilots due to their better fighter craft, though they lack a normal Imperial pilot's level of combat experience. And then finally there's the ethereal caste, the Aun. The ethereals are the political and religious leaders of the Tau. They resemble the fire and water caste physically, but are marked by a diamond-shaped ridge of raised bone in the center of their foreheads. Their origins are unknown, and most Tau will never refuse a request made by an ethereal. They are sometimes also found on the battlefield, but whether as leaders or observers remains to be seen. The leader of the ethereal caste is a Tau named Aun-Va, the ethereal supreme and master of the undying spirit who chaired the ethereal high council and served as the head of state, or Aunau or Auno, of the Tau Empire. One of the theories surrounding the Tau concerns the ethereal's method of political control over other Tau, and how they initially managed to unite a fractured nomadic species comprised of multiple and mutually antagonistic subspecies constantly at war into a single people and military force. The proposed cause of this range from the psychic to the biological, including that of the ethereal's diamond-shaped forehead ridge, an organ unique to that caste's anatomy, produces a set of pheromones that make Tau, and to a lesser extent other intelligent species, open to suggestion. This concept was introduced after fans complained that the initial Tau Codex described the Tau in too much of a positive light, and that they were too good for the grimdark Warhammer 40K universe. This also led to the introduction of the Vespid communion helms, which have a much clearer Orwellian feel that the Vespid are being directly manipulated by the Tau, thanks to the helmets that are supposedly for communication purposes. Wait, so this isn't stuff about the universe, this is stuff about the real world, where the fans of the game did not like that there was a faction that doesn't want to hurt people, and so it was rewritten so that they are forcibly mind controlling an entire species. I know that the series has been around for 40 years, but what the fuck is wrong with you people? There's so much bad shit happening in the 40K universe that your reaction to the only species that wants to do things peacefully is, we don't like that, make them do mind control. Really? Really? Anyway, caste ranks. The rank of a person in Tau society is second only to the caste that they are born into, is in determining their position in Tau culture. The ranks are as follows, with the prefix denoting the individual's caste preceding the suffix that determines the rank within the caste. The translation of each rank into a Low Gothic term that approximates it follows. Let's see. So the ranks are Sal, La, Ui, Vir, L, and O, and across the different things that stands for there. So for the Shas, there's Warrior, Veteran, Hero, Knight / Subcommander, and Commander, which would be, and also Cadets for non-Fire caste. So there's no Shal for Fire caste, I guess. So there's Shasla, Shasui, Shasvir, Shasel, and Shaso, Messenger, Korla, Kori, Korver, Korel, Koro. So it's heir of the messenger, carrier, pilot, captain, admiral, bureaucrat, envoy, magister, diplomat, ambassador, Porla, Porui, Porver, Porel, Poro. Earth caste is Fio, so worker, Fiola, Fioi, senior, Fiovir is overseer, Fioel is engineer, and planner is Fioo. And then the ethereals are Prince, Prelate, King, Holy, and Ethereal Supreme. Alright, sure. Oh, there was a description here. I think I got it, though. Before the unification of the Tau Empire under the rule of the ethereals, the four main castes, fire, earth, water, and air, were constantly vying for power with each other in the form of different tribes and subspecies. The sudden appearance of the mystical Tao of the ethereal caste led to the unification of the Tao under the utilitarian philosophy of the greater good. They are the most open and tolerant of the intelligent starfaring species in Warhammer 40K universe. They're the only faction that prefers to settle differences peacefully when possible, and so y'all made them do mind control. They are appreciative of humans, Eldari, and other intelligent species, but hold their own values to be superior to those of the others because they view themselves as seeking to build an unselfish and enlightened society. Their tolerance also extends to themselves, as the Tau recognize even lowly Earth caste workers as being as important to the operation and well-being of the Empire as the Fire caste battlesuit leaders, or even the ethereal supreme Auno who leads the Empire. Tau names. Tau names are tied closely with their lives within the Empire. A Tau's full name always starts with their caste and their rank within that caste, followed by the sept planetary system of their birth, followed by their personal name, which is often determined / extended by their notable actions or achievements in life. Thus, the name of the Tau, Shaso Viorla Shova Caius Montir, see below, would be broken down as follows. Shas, member of the Fire caste. O, who is high-ranking commander and hero, who comes from the sept of Viorla, and their personal name translated as being far-sighted, skilled, and having seen many battles. Okay, so since they have this line here, I'm going to stop this episode at Tau Warfare and pick up from there. I feel like I don't really need to do the whole if you liked it or liked it, blah, 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 blah. So this has been Anasha Sasuke. I guess I'll see y'all in the next one. You can click the bell if you want to be notified of the next episode, though, because that's what it's there for. Later.